Good morning, good morning. It's Wednesday, June 17. We'll be with you with the short market update. We will check together what's happening in the market. We will check the most important news, political, geopolitical, financial, and anything, any news and updates, economic data that will move our money and will move the markets. So far, everything is still about the on the geopolitical part. It's still about the Iran deal. Just like Iranian says that we won the agreement, we won the deal, we have this, we got this, we got that. And American says, no, we got that, we didn't give anything, we will take everything. Anyhow, till Friday that we will have the text or the agreement by itself, we can say nothing. I bet I mean I better say nothing because we really don't know what's happened. We really don't know what they gave and what they got. So that's something for now. It's just the things that we can guess. Something happened here. But anyhow, for any reason, both sides they decided not to say anything, especially about the special and about the real agreements until it will be signed. Anyhow, in United States, the senators they say that Senate they say that it should be powered, it should be confirmed by the Senate. So anyhow, we will know the text and we'll know the final agreements by Friday. So till that, I better say nothing, but we know that the G7 meeting it continues in Europe, and we know that the Donald Trump also is taking a part in that. What was interesting yesterday talk that he just kind of paradigm shift his mind to towards it move to just like change the focus to the Russia and Ukraine again after 2 3 months talking about the Iran. Yesterday he started talking about the Russia and Ukraine, and he said that just like this sanctions that they somehow paused for some Russian companies, they just renewed that and increased even the number of the sanction against the new Russian companies and just like any groups that they're exporting the oil. So the oil ban for Russia again started in now. Probably he's counting on the Persian Gulf oil and Iranian oil that will be run to the market since this Friday. I'm not really, to be honest, I'm not really positive about the Friday. I don't know. Just like my experience as a Middle Eastern says that that's not something that you should be happy for that because uh till that everything is that here is like that. Until that everything is not done, nothing is done. Just like we have to have everything just like 100% done. In the Middle East, 1% not happening means that 100%. And I mean, nothing happened. You know what I mean? Just like that. That's so scary situation here, and especially we know that when we are talking about the situation that one side is Iranian government, Islamic Republic based in Iran, and the other side is the Hamas in the Lebanon. You know, no one know what the shit and what the hell they're gonna do tomorrow. So until that, they are still there. I mean, I cannot be positive about any deal for Friday, and I don't think that they're gonna have any deal, just like sustainable deal or stable deal and talk. Even if they agree to continue the situation for the next 60 days, that can be only the option. And I don't think that even that can be 60 days. That can be 50, 40, 30 days maximum. Anyhow, yesterday, while Dow Jones had a new print that just like printed new all-time high, gained by more than 0.6%, S&P 500 lost 0.6%, and Nasdaq closed more than 1.2% lower. Even the small caps lost 0.9%. Looking at the market risk last night, the risk closed at 16.41. Even if in the future market we had the VIX higher at 18. Still, we have it higher at 18.28, and we know that the market risk is still high, even though it's lower than it's like if you compare the numbers that we had just like weeks ago or last week, it's low, but it's still high. Like just like we like to see, usually the market like to see around the 40, 14 and 15, not about the 18 and 19. Anyhow, the market risk is high. When I'm talking about the market risk, don't forget the bond market also telling us the same. US 10 years bond yields, despite lowering from 4.54, 53, is still at 4.42, just like 43 almost. That's not a low number. You know, that's telling us that the market risk prime is still so high, and still market counting on a higher risk for longer. That's what we can see in the market. Same situation, you can see that in the Japanese 10 years yields stayed at 2.60%. Yeah, it's maybe because of some of that, some percentages got affected of yesterday's BOJ meeting, but still the numbers are high and telling us that market risk premium is still so high. So in the stock market, Asian market so far, we could see this unclarity or uncertainty in Asian markets as well. In Australia, we saw the ASX gained by 0.5%. In Japan, Nikkei is losing by almost 0.9%. Hong Seng, gaining by 0.9%. In Hong Kong, the Hong Seng is losing by 0.5%. And same in Indonesia, but in Singapore. But on the other hand, we can see that Kuala Lumpur Malaysian stocks gaining by 1.1%, and Kospi in South Korea is 1.2% higher. Generally, the market is market is mixed, just like we don't have a clear path to say that, okay, the market is increasing in this path, the market is moving forward or moving higher in this path, and that's the pattern right now. The market is risky. I'm not a positive, to be honest, about the financial market, but especially about the stock market, at least for next 1 or 2 months, because the situation that we have in the market right now is the heavy under pressure situation because of profit taking, because of just it's so hard right now to explain to investors that look, I mean, the most important stock, if you look at the most important stock, you can understand that yesterday the only main stock that gained, it was SpaceX, just a new stock in the market. All others, it's so hard right now to convince the investor that so far in the near term we're going to have the new all-time high. So when you can't explain that, it means that the cash out can be higher. So we probably can see the stock market under pressure. That can be a positive news for the cryptocurrencies, especially if the monies that they're just like for the profit taking that comes from usually it comes from the AI related stocks, can maybe move towards the cryptocurrency market. And maybe that was one of the reasons that we had the Bitcoin up to our 65,000, 66,000 US dollar. But still, we don't have any clear confirmation for that, just like that can be the general idea that I know that the people are talking, or investors are talking in the markets. And yeah, the Bitcoin, but still with all respect, all positive stocks, Bitcoin is still positive news. Bitcoin is still trading under $66,000. Ethereum still under $1,790. It's not a hot. Ethereum is $1.2. Like, that's so hot. That's so low. Anyhow, generally looking at the market, we can say that the market now is under pressure, and that pressure can still continue. I mean, I think in this way. In a commodity market, if you look at the commodity market, also you can understand that the gold price, despite all gain that last days, it had gained just 4,340, 4,350. So I mean, the number they're telling us that the market risk is high, yield is high. That's why when you have a yields higher, demand for the not profitable, just like yield paying gold demand is not getting higher. So the gold price is still $4,340. Same for the silver, around $70. Looking at the oil market, the situation a little bit different. Yeah, we can see WTI around $75 and Brent oil around $78. But the thing is that I think it's mostly the effect comes mostly kind of, how can I say, it's emotional effect of the emotional reaction of the market and initial reaction it is right now. But the fact that we have to know is that the market inventories across the market, across the countries, is lowered in the recent 2 months, in the past 2 months, because when you had a daily borrows 10 millions out of the market, that was so hard to control the market. That's something that we shouldn't. I mean, forget about that. So even if the oil can come back to the market, that can take a time until we can see the inventories full of the oil back to the oil, just like pre-war situation. That's why the demand is higher, and I think that the oil price can again go back a little bit higher, about at least for WTI about $80. The same thing. That this is the what we can expect for that. Looking at the economic calendar, yesterday we had important numbers, especially starting from the China. China gave us a very mixed situation. While the house price again fell by 3.5%, while fixed asset investments fell again by 4.1%. We saw that the industrial production increased by 4.5% annually, even though year to date it was weaker at 5.4%, weaker than usual expectation for this year. That's so far we had. And yeah, and the retail sales fall by 0.6%. That's telling us that the Chinese economy is still under pressure. Chinese unemployment rate also slightly fell to 5.1%, but generally putting the numbers together, telling us that the Chinese market is facing again some after several months of the positive numbers. We saw that in the inflation numbers again on Monday as well. Generally, after several months of positive news, Chinese economy again still again gets under pressure. That's what's happening in China. In Japan and Australia, yesterday we had central banks meetings. We didn't have a surprise there. Bank of Japan hiked their rates by 25 basis point, the highest since 1994. Highest level right now at 1% since 1994. That can tell us that the market counting on a higher inflation in Japan. But on other thing that the Bank of Japan was, had no choice than to hike the rates. It was the weaker yen, and we saw that the yen after this decision slightly got the strength. In Australia also, Reserve Bank of Australia hold their rates at 4.35% because we talked already about that. The Australian Central Bank or Reserve Bank of Australia already they hiked the rates before, and we know that the rates were higher and they increased these rates before, so they didn't have more rooms to hike their rates because the Australian economy is under pressure right now because of the different and many pressure that they have. So Reserve Bank of Australia hold the rates unchanged at 4.35%, but the statements in both banks was somehow for both banks the statement that they had they had slightly more hawkish than expected statements. Later in Turkey, we had the retail sales falling by 1.7% on a monthly base, annually increased by 11.4%. But in the country that you have 32% inflation, retail sales at 11.4% is weak, is negative actually. In Italy, inflation was almost in line with expectation, 3.2%. In Eurozone, ZEW survey showed that the current condition for Europe for the Germany's fell from -77 to drop to -81. But economic sentiment for both Germany and Eurozone increased. That was one of the worst numbers that we had in a recent months. Unusual numbers, but the good number that we didn't have it to see from the Europe. Just like always we added negative news in Europe in recent months. So it's the first positive news. And yeah, the retail sales in Brazil also increased by 1% on the annual scale in April. Monthly fell by 1.5%. That's also showing that the Brazilian economy is not that positive. And in United States, we had a mixed number again. Why I'm talking about the mixed number because ADP numbers showed that more than 25,000 newly created jobs in the past week, according to the ADP, while import and export price increased, showing that the inflation can be still sticky in the United States. On the other hand, housing starts fell by 15.4%. That's not a good number. Housing building permits also just like slower increased by just like fell by 0.7%. So that's telling us that the housing market is under pressure. On the other hand, the Red Book retail sales increased by 9.4% last week annual scale. Today we're gonna have the retail sales, core retail sales numbers. I'm also I will talk about that, but I'm positive about that situation as well. Anyhow, other data that yesterday we had, it was API numbers showing that the number of reserve that the US oil reserve inventories or reservoirs in this private sector fell by more than 8 million barrels, just like same pattern that we continue to see in recent months, in recent months. So far in Japan, we had core machinery orders increasing. We had trade balance positive, export 17% increase, while the import also increased by 12.5%. The good news for the Japanese economy is that at least they have more outlet energy, and so the product energy and the domestic demand, so the production can increase in a sense in next month. Yeah, so far today, these numbers, they were the most important numbers that we had, but we're gonna have the very important inflation numbers later today. British inflation numbers, CPI, should show us that the inflation is increasing by 3.2% by 3% for just like consumer inflation and this headline inflation and core inflation by 2.7%. While in a Eurozone, we're expecting to see the inflation to increase to 3.2% for the headline and core inflation to increase to 2.5% in South Africa. Also, we are expecting to see the inflation at 4.7% to the generalist inflation date. We're going to have the inflation numbers from many different economies. And also in the United States, we're going to have the housing number, another housing number data. I will talk about the retail sales as well. Housing data, we're going to have the NBA 30 years mortgage rate. I do expect to see the rates to slightly fall from 6.6% to 6.55, 56% probably to that, but still, so I think that application will drop. Last week, after several weeks, increased by 10.8%, but this week, I think, which is the numbers for the last week, I think that we're going to have the lower application, so application numbers will drop probably. And for the housing market, we're going to have pending home sales. We're going to have for monthly and annually. I do expect that pending home sales to increase slightly weaker than previous month, just by 0.8%. On the retail sales, considering we have the FIFA World Cup in United States, I can say that the retail sales can increase, which the number that we had in Red Book numbers as well. Considering the ongoing FIFA World Cup, with the booking, with the hotel booking, with the tourists coming there, with all these things that the fans that happens, most probably we can have the retail sales in a better situation. Well, after yesterday's API numbers, today EIA numbers also should tell us about the US oil inventories. I really expect again to see the more drop in the inventories. Russia also should publish its inflation numbers for producer pricing index actually, and we're expecting to see the producer PPI also to slightly ease after CPI eased. However, today market will focus on the two central banks meeting. One from Brazil, we expect to see the BCB to cut the rates by 25 basis points, same pattern that they had actually in the past 3 months, and that can continue for June as well. The pattern that the Brazilian central bank usually had with the 50 basis point cut or hike, now kinds of like sound like they changed this pattern, and now they're cutting the rates by 25 basis point or hiking the rates by 25 basis points. So that's today also we're expecting to see 25 basis point rate cuts. But in United States, at the first meeting that Kevin Warsh will lead the meeting as a Fed chair, I don't expect, I mean, the market doesn't expect any change in the rates, but what is important in today's meeting is statement, is Kevin Warsh first press conference, what he gonna say in the press conference, how he gonna answer the questions, and also the dot plots that the Fed members projections from the economic growth, from unemployment rates and stuff like that, that can tell us, that can give us a better or brighter idea of what's happening in the economy, what's going on there. So what we have to focus on that is going to be the dot plots. It's going to be the feature Kevin Warsh. We have to learn that. It's like after many years of saying the feature problem, we have to change it to feature wash. So we have to see what feature wash will tell us today in the press conference. With the current situation, as mentioned at the beginning, I'm not so much positive about the stock market. I'm positive about the gold. I'm positive about the oil. I'm positive slightly about even the oil, as mentioned, should increase around $80 per WTI. But about the stock market, I'm not positive. Cryptocurrency can be stable with the slight uptrend with the profit taking from the stock market. That's what's happening in the market and what we're expecting to see later today. If you had any question, don't forget to write in the comment section. Hope it was useful for you. Talk to you again tomorrow or any other day that we will have a time. Goodbye.